All right, housing prices in thousands in Pendleton. Is the average home price in 2022 significantly higher than in 2019? Question mark. So 2019, I'm going to call that mu. Mu was about, let's see, oops, bless you. 2019, mu is about 264,000. So mu is 264. So that's going to be my null hypothesis. My alternative hypothesis here is going to be my question. Mu is greater than 264. It's going to use the standard significance level, 5%. And we're just going to do a quick t-score, and we'll check with stat key for the p value. So to do a t-score for a hypothesis test, you need to know the sample mean, you need to know the null mean, you need to know the sample standard deviation, and you need to know the sample size to take its square root. So I'm just going to put some rough answers in there. So what do we got? Just scoot this over and I'll just copy it. All right, and again, I shared this data out. It'll be in the video for those of you watching it in the future. So I have a mean of about 353, round it up a little bit. It was 352.5-ish, minus what the null hypothesis says, that's the 264. For my sample I found in Zillow last night, the standard deviation was about 157,000. It's a pretty big spread. 157, and I had a sample size of 28, so I have to divide that by the square root of 28. So that's going to be my t-score here, and then based on that, we'll have StatKey give us a quick p-value using their t-distribution. So calculator time. Bring my Google calculator over here. Please stop that, Google. Okay, so I want parentheses. Let's see, 353, right? Minus 264, close my numerator, divide. On this old calculator, I have to put parentheses around the denominator, some you don't. And then I have 157 is my spread, it's my sample standard deviation, and then I have to divide that by the square root of the sample size, which was 28. Close parentheses, close parentheses. So I'm getting a z-score of almost 3. It's a relatively large, t-score. Means we call them t-scores. So about 2.9996 is about my t-score here. And again, that's the rounded data. If we did it in the spreadsheet with all the decimals, we get a slightly different answer. That's okay. So this is about 2.9996-ish. Next, I want to know what's the p-value for that. And I'm going to use the stat key t-distribution to get the p-value. So again, when we use means, it's a t-distribution, and we call them t-scores. So quick jump over to stat key. And since this is a mean, I have to use the theoretical t. And it immediately says, what's your degrees of freedom? That's always one less than the sample size. My sample size was 28, so I would enter 27 here. And then it gives me the distribution. Was this left tail, right tail? Right tail, because I think home prices went up on average. So I enter right tail, and then I just drop my t-score down here. And that was the 2.9996. And I get a p-value of 0.0029. That's a pretty small p-value. Have housing prices gone up significantly? Yes, they have. We're going to reject the null and accept the alternative here. So, and StatKey makes this nice picture for me, which I'd copy into my notes. So that leads to a p-value of about 0.0029. What was that again? 29, yeah. So that's the p-value. P is low, so the null must go. Our decision would be to reject the null. Our data supports the alternative. Yeah, so to enter this into StatKey, Yeah, let's repeat that quick. So in stat key, I chose the theoretical t. And the first thing it wants to know is what are the degrees of freedom? That's always one less than the sample size. So my sample size was 28, so I entered 27 here. And then I can say it's a two-tailed test, and the t-score I calculated was that 2.9996. Yep. All right, so it's similar to what we've done before. We now have a new technique to come up with p-values is what we have. If we ran a simulation on this with the original data, we'd get a pretty similar value, although this, yeah, we would get a pretty similar, it would be in the ballpark of this. It would be around 0.3% for the p-value. So we're out of time for fun right now, but if you have a question, please ask. What's up? Your application for this